on issues affecting you in the UK. Join us live every Monday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon. All right, thanks for joining us, and welcome back. The phone line is open. You can join us on the phone. Tokpe, when Jukos was murdered, the MP in Bristol, West Yorkshire, by 52-year-old Thomas May, it wasn't called terrorism. It was called a right-wing British man who is just promoting some kind of right-wing ideology.
Yeah.
So how do we differentiate somebody promoting a wrong ideology by killing people and not being called terrorism from another person promoting another ideology? Because that's radicalism. That's radicalization when you are prompted into championing some kind of ideology.
Yeah.
How do we differentiate them? How do we set them apart?
And that's the reason why I agreed with my brother Ashburn when he said clearly that the media tend to twist things to suit them. As far as I'm concerned, this is a white individual who was radicalized on white extremist ideology, and as a result of his belief in that philosophy, decided to take the life of a sitting MP. And it is a terrorist attack, whichever way you want to look at it. Because terrorist attack could be done by a lone wolf, or it could be done by an organization taking instruction from an organization. So for me personally, regardless of the fact that the media prefer to highlight it as just being a one man that has just committed a one offense, and he has a bit of mental issues, and it's still a terrorist attack because it's a lone wolf, white extremist, going after somebody because he does not believe in the ideology. But I think we need to go back to our community, because I think that is where it's more important. What has happened in the last 48 hours is you see the shift within the community where my Asian brothers are saying, you know what, he's a converted, he's not one of us, he's not actually a Muslim. And the bottom line is this guy is a Muslim. The bottom line is that this guy converted. And one of the things we need to do in our communities, especially with the Muslim community, and I'd like to speak to this community because they're doing a lot of work, but they need to do more. Because if somebody converts, when I was a Muslim and I became a Christian, a Pentecostal Christian, I entered a church, I accepted the membership of that church, and I went through Bible lessons where they taught me the proper interpretation of the Bible. In the same Bible that we're talking about, there are sections in there that says if you steal, your hand should be cut off, if you do adultery, you should be stoned, and things like that. But the way I was taught, I was made to understand that there is what is called the Old Testament, the New Testament, and things like that. Now, if you don't have situations where you take people through the reading of the Quran and how to properly interpret the Quran, if you don't blacklist certain imams, if you don't say, in our community today, if you say to somebody, I'm going to this church, you don't need to be told. People will automatically tell you that church is labeled. There are certain churches that are labeled, and people will know. And if you tell people you belong to that church and things, then people will be able to report you to self. That guy belongs to a labeled environment. But the Muslim community need to work more on blacklisting imams that they know and letting people know that this imam, if you are associated with this imam, is blacklisted because it preaches hate. They need to blacklist mosque and things like that, and they need to deal within the community. But what they do is...
Are you saying the police do not know about these hate preachers?
They know about some of them, but they don't know about all of them. The bottom line is in my street where I live, without mentioning the area where I live because of the nature of the job I do, there are two or three different mosques that are little houses converted into a mosque for that is community oriented, that is an ethnic group oriented. When I mean ethnic group, like Yoruba, Muslim association, whatever. And they meet in their little place. The only reason I knew was because I saw people coming out of that particular house to go and pray there, and I noticed that I saw more more cars. But the police know about that mosque? No, they don't. If they are being radical, people are being radicalized there, would they know? No, because they concentrate more. And one of the things when I was in the system was that more money was given to the Asian Muslim community from time memorial when they were saying they were the victims. And how many black community mosques received money from the Prevent Strand? Let them come out and say. Most of them didn't receive. Most of them don't even know how to access this money about radical. And that's why I said our community need to move away from the party-oriented approach to saying, you know what, this is where money is on the gun and knife crime. Go and tap into it. This is where money is on radicalization. Tap into it. Because if all these different institutions could tap into the money out there, and if as a community, for example, why can't we have an association of African Caribbean carpenters or builders? And when I want to repair something in my house, I call on those people. Why can't we, if we have electrician, why can't we have those kind of associations so that people and all our children, instead of them not getting a job, they could work in those kind of areas where they could go. There are many houses in our community that needs repairs, and many of our people that are working in that field that could help them. That's what I'm saying, and that's the reason why I say the community need to stand up now and actually look at how to help, because what they are doing to our children is totally unfair, and we need to be clear across Europe, because I've been working, I work with families across Europe, and what we're finding out is just have it, even if you have an encounter with the police, and I'm not saying the police is racist, I'm not trying to say they're racist, but have a little encounter with the police, the first thing they're going to is giving you a record. And once you have that record, even as an older person, if you have that record, to get a job is going to be difficult, not to talk of a little child. So we need to find a way to empower our children. And I know that if there are food, there's opportunity. A child that goes out from 9 to 5 to get to do a job and comes back knackered, eating pizza as he goes to bed, we don't have time to listen to one preacher or one person telling them things. I'm not saying that it won't happen, but it will be very, very unlikely. We need to find jobs for our children. We need to find jobs within our community. We need to help ourselves more in our community. And if we could do this, all this problem will go away. Most of this problem will go away.
Okay, let's quickly take Yinka. Yinka, thank you for joining us on the program today. Good morning, Yinka.
Good morning, my dear brother. How are you?
Good.
I'm happy that you are discussing very important issues today. Let me start from where Mr. Olodo stopped, and to give you my own side of the story. Yes, it's a very good idea, but people patronizing these areas or the job or works that you are talking about. That is where we need to start from. The only problem I'm having about the black minority, I didn't normally call them minority, I call them majority, is only that we are yet to understand the fact that by the time we separated ourselves, there will be a very big gap within that evil will strike and destroy us completely, those of us that were in the diaspora. Last week, I told you about my coming to London and what I saw in London. I discussed this on this national television, but people take it in the wrong side. And this weekend, I believe that that was a gun crime that one of us, a Nigerian youth, was being killed in London. These are the things that I'm talking about. Like Mr. Rodo has mentioned, let us engage our youth in a way that they will move away from crime. He said one fact that a lot of us believe that we know too much, that we know where we can tap into these areas that the government has created in order to give us a soft landing. But majority of us will never let others know about it. And by the time you toil around and you cannot make any ends meet, you will leave it and it will remain the same thing. Like the issue you talk about being a radicalist. Look, it's a thing of the mind. I've said it many times to people that nobody, I have never in my life, at my age, seen somebody that I will sit one-on-one with and it will be Kandahaing my brain to go and kill my fellow human being. I will never do it. But because of the life that they live in this country, make it so hard for each our youth to believe that life is so simple. Or people will be telling me that when I die, I will go to heaven, I will get married to 6 or 16 virgins. I've never seen it in my life. that still exist in this 24th century. It is time for youth and for every one of us that we call ourselves elders or community leaders to come together as one in order to let our children know the culture that believes in saying that love your neighbor as yourself that we normally do in Africa. Secondly, that there is nothing you can do that God will give you prosperity if you don't work. And to tell them that there are many things that they need to know, that vanity upon vanity, all is vanity. No matter what you said you are, if you are carrying gun one day, you are going to be apprehended. These are the things because our father, my father, taught me how to be able to walk with my two hands to achieve what I have. You could see what is going on in Nigeria. Even here, people do celebrate the so-called criminal gang. Hello?
Yeah.
And you know, our youth, our children yet unborn, will believe that that is the way we need to toil. Instead of them to put their heads down and study very well in their universities or in their secondary school education, and in order to become somebody in life, they believe that forming a gang will help them to acquire wealth for themselves. Look at so many people that are engaging in cocaine. I mean, inserting cocaine into their lungs.
Okay, Yinka.
Somebody will telling them that before you get to the airport, you will see somebody that will help you to extract
Yinka.
those cocaine from your body.
I'm being simple now to let you go. All right, thanks a lot, Yinka. Thanks for your contribution on the show. Let me come to you. Our parents, again, I look at this. We'll say African, Caribbean, Asian, Jewish. Are we less of any human species at all? Are parents in our community playing their role? Are they doing what they are supposed to do as parents?
I think parents have got some more problems. And let me take, for example, myself. I've always said to everybody, there's nothing as good as education. And I just have to say thank you to my late father, who out of 7 of us, just 2 girls and 5 boys, and I was the eldest. And they, you know, people said to him, oh, don't train her because she's a girl. When she gets married, you know, that's it. You train the boys. But my dad said, no, I got to train her because if I train her, when she gets married, you know, she would be able to help her children. Even if her husband doesn't want her to work, she'll be able to help her children because she'll be able to stay at home, do homework if that is what is needed. I think that is a fantastic thing for me because when I came here, I went in to do nursing with my background education. I got in straight in, did my nursing, did my midwifery, and I had a job. I became a professional. And unfortunately for me, my husband passed on 13 years into my marriage, leaving me with 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls.
Wow.
The youngest being only 18 months old, 5-year-old,
Wow.
9-year-old, and 12 years old. I brought them up myself. And because of I had education and my profession, I was able to bring them up myself without going for benefit. You see, what is happening is a majority of the parents are on benefit because they cannot get a good job, because they haven't got what we call the basic education. And I was able, through to what I gained through education, I maintained that for my children. And I made sure that all my children, all of them, 4 of them, are single parent, they all went to university. And a single parent, all of them, none of them is a liability to me. They are all working, and some are married, and I'm a grandmother. So it's got to start from I want to talk to them parents and say, whatever you do, it's very, very important to encourage your children to go to school. Even if we don't all have to be academicians. Even if you want to be a business person needs a basic education. Because with a basic education, then you'll be able to know when your accountant is cheating you, at least. You'll be able to know that putting 1 and 1 together makes 2 and not 4, or not 0. So this is what is happening. A lot of parents, because of job, they don't have a good job. They have to do 2 to 3, 4 jobs. And before they know it, their children are on their own at home. Their children have made some friends. And those friends, you don't know their parents. And you don't know where background they're coming from. I can tell you, in as much as I was on my own, I still knew the friends of my children. And I made sure that I know their parents. So because that helps me, when my children say, oh, mommy, I'm going out with Tina, I know Tina's mom. And I'll phone Tina's mom and say, oh, I understand my daughter is coming to your house or my son is coming to you. Is that a fact? Oh, yes, Kate, that's correct. So these are the things that are missing. So by the time our children derail, it's a bit too late, you know. And then what we're doing as well, your child comes home with a trainer, 200 pounds, 300 pounds.
Let us assume the child did not even come home with a 200 pounds trainer. Let us even assume this trainer, 200 pounds trainer, bought for the child by the parents.
Now, the parents should not be doing that.
Thank you.
The parents should not be doing that.
Or a 10-year-old boy, girl, having a smartphone of 200-300 pounds.
You see, I'll tell you something. There are a lot of things people ask me, how did you bring up your children? Because I brought them up knowing that if you have to have something, you have to work for it. And if you have to work for it, you have to have a basic education for you to be able to have a good job. And they have a skill. You have to have a skill. Because like I said, all of us don't have to be academicians. If you have a skill, we have a lot of business people, you know, that are running their own businesses or working for us with businesses. And because they acquired that skill, if you buy something for your child because you've made it and buy it for that child does not know that what you went through. So you need to show your child that this is actually how I got this money. You've got to go and do your own work. You know something? If somebody give you a present, that present, because you did not know, you know how much it cost, but you didn't suffer to get it, just when somebody gave it to you. You know, you don't admire, you don't use it nicely or in fact look after it as you would look after something which you have suffered and sweat. And then when you are paid your salary, you look at it and say, I'm not going to spend this money for that. You know, I've got something more important that I'm going to do with this money. So parents should not be buying all those expensive things for their children. The reason is because the children doesn't know that you did sweat over it. Let them sweat over it before and be able to buy it. Or let them actually let them do some job. Let them do some simple job. And then by the time they finish that simple job and come out, and then they soon realize, do you know that some of the children that are working, even doing their paper rounds and get their little money, ask them for some money, say, no, mommy, I can't. You know, because why? Because they had to get up 6 o'clock in the morning to go and say, you know, give out all this paper. And when that little money is paid to them, you want them to spend it so easily. No, they're not going to spend it so easily. So let us not make money like if it's just like that, especially directing this to our, you know, people that are our rich parents. Because if you look closely, the worst children are those children from rich parents. The reason is because
it's a function of being from the rich family, or children of parents who have come from the diaspora, from Ghana, South Africa, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, looking at their background, average parents, but because of what they did not have back from wherever they've come, and they've decided they're not rich, but because of what they lack back there, they decided to throw all things at this poor kids just growing up.
I'm one of those who have come from a background where my parents, my father was a butcher, and my mom was just an ordinary market woman that in the store selling crayfish, okra, and the rest of them. That's what my mother did. And my father, like I said, you know, is a butcher with, you know, formed, you know, like in fact, one of his in-laws. They got together, and every morning they're out, and I just wondered where they'd gone. Until when I went one day to my mom sent me, and I said, oh, my dad sells meat, you know, is a butcher. So I come from really very, very poor background. But that didn't make me to be able to have a profession and let my children just go astray because I'm earning a little bit more money than my parents. You know, so what it makes me to know is that I worked hard and I improved myself. I want my children to work harder than me and improve themselves even better. And that's how it's supposed to go.
Let me come to Ashburn. Ashburn, I mean, you're an advocate of a fair society to the Black Caribbean children. But shouldn't parents also take a greater responsibility?
Absolutely, totally agree. Can I just answer one question before we move on to the question you asked me? A question was put to you a while ago that this white person created a crime, and it created some form of crime, and it was classified as a crime. Yet this black guy created this similar crime, it was called terrorism.
Yeah.
So can you see the correlation between the two, the unjust system that we have? So I just need to answer that and make this crystal clear. Coming back to the question when you talk about black parents, I literally, all my life in this country, I went to school all the way up to where I am now. In the days when we were brought up, we had discipline. And the school disciplined us, the police disciplined us, and our parents disciplined us, and we had total respect. Right. In this society, we've lost that. Yeah. And the reason why we lost this discipline we have, like you were saying, that you were brought up with discipline, the days for that is over. Our children are not disciplined by parents. The law disciplines our children. We have no form of disciplinary authority over our children in this 21st century because it's not there, it doesn't exist. And if it doesn't exist, then this is the issue and the problem that we face. So what the system needs to do is to give parents back the disciplinary that you and I and all of us had.
Is that true, Ashburn?
It is very
Did
true.
the system say you shouldn't discipline
We
your
can't
child?
discipline
Or
our children.
the system says do not inflict injury on your child?
Well, let's go back to our culture.
Is there that difference between disciplining a child and inflicting injury on the child?
Let me explain that to you. So we get this crystal clear, we understand it. In our culture, so is the African culture, and so is Caribbean culture, we have always used some form of disciplinary. And this disciplinary sometimes, if we have to use some form of effective sort of enforcing that discipline by using a slap or whatever, this is discipline. And when my mother, and I couldn't speak for my mother, and surely probably you might think the same, if your mother slapped you, she slapped you for a reason. Yep. And that slap is not cruelty. That slap is love. By giving me a good slap, a good turning over, this is love.
A good slap.
A good, or belts or whatever, or belts, a belts or whatever they use, this is love. In the end of the day, we still love our parents. When the system has taken that away from us, and we cannot do that anymore, and we now rely on the system to discipline our children, they use brutal force. The police use brutal force, and the police call that discipline. The police will use the baton, they will spray us with the pepper spray, they'll shoot us, they'll prison us, and all sorts of things. This is discipline. Yet, if I, or any one of us, discipline our children by using a belt, or whatever you call it, to discipline this child, to say to this child, you cannot do this, is not acceptable. At the end of the day, I didn't do it deliberately to hate you, I do it because I love you. That's the difference between discipline with the system and our children today. So this is the culture, and that's been taken away from us. So we cannot address the system. It's gone. The days for that is gone. 21st century system is totally. We face a challenge, and I'm sure there's parents out there are knocking their head against a brick wall, saying, you know, I really wish I can give a slap and say to you, stop it. And yet, what can they do? The slightest thing, a slightest mark on a child, go to a school, social service get involved. As long as social service get involved, the whole family is destroyed. End of.
And that's why we have so many of our children in social
so many,
services. They're all taken away.
So the system, the whole system needs to be addressed. The government needs to come back and say, look, we need to readdress the system. And our black community, African and Caribbean community, we have a culture. Even the Asians as well, they got their culture. We use out of a family with 4 children or 2 or 3 children, the 2 children, you'll say to them, stop it. You'll give them that fatherly look. They will stop. There's always the one, the daring, I will not do it. And 2 good slaps will put him straight. You know, this is our culture. This is the way we were brought up, and we respect our culture. I used to be, my mother used to give me a good hiding. She said to me, I had to be home at a certain time. I didn't get good hiding. I didn't hate my mother. I still love her. She's the best thing going. I embrace her now and say, thank you for putting me straight. And if that's taken away from us, then I'm afraid our society is gone.
Go on.
You see, you just hit on the nail, and this is exactly the kind of discussion that I wanted, and I'm happy that we're having it. Because we need to now look at the fact that we've lost what we used to have in the past. But how can we remold and help? Because like Auntie said, we now have a lot of our children that are now being taken by social services. We have a lot of depressed families having mental challenges, you know. So how do we address this? Because now we're in an age where we're in the age of technology. Most of it's impossible to call a town hall meeting and have all the African Caribbean families there. So we must know how we could use technology to help. And community leaders now, need to now look at, okay, I am a community leader of 50, I'm a community leader of 100, I'm a community. If we could get through the community leaders to say, this is guidance on how to go about this, maybe we'll be able to reduce social services getting involved. If we have challenges to say, okay, you have an immigration challenge, there's no need for you to run and hide. Here are good leaders or leaders that could help you with your immigration challenges, instead of them getting caught up in the web of web of being duped and things like that. So we need to look at a 21st century approach to community engagement and see how we could help our community to be able to deal with this. And the same goes with the radicalization, because we have to admit that there is radicalization in our community, and we need to find a way to tackle that radicalization. I just written a book now called African Brides, African Jihadist Bride in Syria, because there are more African kids who have gone to Syria to become brides. And how do we then stop our children waking up one morning, picking up their passport and traveling? Now that we know that the government is even looking at revoking British passport, they are working on it now to revoke British passport and say, you were once from Jamaica, so if we tag you as, being a supporter of ISIS, we're going to withdraw your passport and turn you back to Jamaica, or we return you back to Nigeria. We need to find out a way to resolve this problem, because if we don't provide this self-regulation for our community, they will be forced to put those regulations on us, and there's nothing we could do about it.
Finally, Kate, before we let go this issue, as parents, there's still ways, even though, I mean, very troubling analysis given by Ashburn there. The system says don't discipline your child, but the system disciplines your child for you, according to him, in a very cruel manner. But aren't there ways that even as parents you can still apply discipline on your children?
Oh, there are many ways you can, because especially, okay, for this modern time, they've all got their, for those who have got television for their children in their rooms and, iPads and the rest of them. It depends on the age of the child as well, if you can take it away from them, because, they would listen to you. But at the same time, when you have a very, very stubborn child, who probably, in fact, I think I was able to get away from all this because I believe in role model, and I believe in speaking to my elders. I used to call and phone up maybe one of the elders, within our community, and say, oh, this child is really giving me a headache. Can you come and talk to, or I just said to her, oh, by the way, our uncle so-so wants to see you, and the girls, and then when they come back and they say, so mommy, why did you tell them what I did, I said, well, because I probably can't manage you. Maybe you will listen, and it worked very well. It worked very well because, we've got elders who people respect. Even at this moment, if there's anything that I've done to someone and there's somebody who calls me and to say to me, this is what you've done and this, I would listen. And this is what we call discipline and respect. Yeah. If we can bring discipline and respect back, that would work very well. And we tend to probably, because we're not allowed to, physically, address the issue with our children, they will kind of give up. We must not give up. The next way to get about it is to, I believe in the, deliberation with elders. And it has worked for me, and I think it would work as well.
All
but,
right.
And it's just like bringing back discipline, respect, and understanding, and people making themselves approachable as well. And obviously people not demeaning, because that's another thing we tend to do with the children. Don't let your children, no matter what age, don't undermine, them, because what happens as well sometimes is that the children think, you think I don't understand, you think I cannot use my head, or probably I'm just stupid. There are certain words you use in your house which is not very nice. Like you can say to your child, oh, you stupid child. That child, by the time you say it 10 to 3 to 10 times.
Well, we
That-
want to show you that he or she is not actually stupid.
Exactly.
Is
You
it?
know, exactly. You see, so that's certain things that we have to be mindful of the things we speak. You know, if we want our children to respect us, we also need to respect
As for
them.
1 minute.
Absolutely. Can I just quickly,
Quickly,
expand
in
on
1
what you
minute.
just quickly expand on what you just said about deportation? It's something that we need to know about deportation, which is happening at the present. We have had lots of sort of Jamaicans that's been sent back to Jamaica, and if these new immigration policies coming out in April, as you know, the emphasis is to send back migrants back to country of origin if they're not legally sort of in this country. So what we have to do as a BME community, African and Caribbean community, is to campaign against this, to stop this mass repatriation of our people back to place of origin, and that's something that's happening now. And we need to work on that. We can't accept that. That our people has been there for so long, working for so long, contributing.
Build up the country.
And therefore, it's next thing they know, family. And it doesn't matter who it is. Don't think the story says that it's the one-off. They send families as well, together with the children as well. So what people's got to do is make sure their papers is up to date, make sure it's sort of that whatever legalities need to be taken, address it before it's too late. Because it's going to happen, and it is happening now. So just make that crystal clear.
Right, thanks a lot. Kate Anole, former mayor, Enfield, thanks so much, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you
being
very
part of
much
the
for
program as well.
inviting us, and thank you to my colleagues. It's been a wonderful morning, to contribute to, to the safety of our families, the world, the children, and everything really. Because whatever we discuss here is just for the betterment of the future.
Ashburn?
Absolutely.
Ashburn Older, British parliamentary candidate during the last parliamentary election. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I hope you're giving it another shot this time.
We'll do.
2020.
2018, I'll be
I
there.
think,
I'm already there.
I think both of us did the same at the same time, because I did stand for it as well. But
I'm back
it's-
again in 2018.
We wish you the best of luck in that.
that's good,
Dr.
that's
Lido,
good, well done.
counter-terrorism advisor, thank you for joining us on the program today. My name is Tunde Alabi. It's been a pleasure to be part of the program today. I hand you over to our newsroom as we give you the news roundup of major news headline in the week that just ended. Enjoy the rest of your week.